to Stirring the Pot podcast, a podcast all about discussing controversial food topics, historical aspects of food, and pretty much everything else food and cooking related. Let me start by introducing my co-hosts. First up, we have Mr. Barbecue Brand, our resident pitmaster and a past guest on Food Network's Barbecue USA. Welcome, Barbecue Brand.
What's happening, everybody? I'm your favorite pitmaster's favorite pitmaster. I am Barbecue. Let's get it going.
Next up, we have Mr. Brandon D., our food science nerd and Southern food expert. Welcome, Brandon D.
Thank you, everybody. I'm glad to be here tonight.
I am KCP, your host and cookie queen. Tonight, we have a very special guest in the studio with us, founder and co-owner of 180 Degrees Cajun Blends and Seasonings. Welcome, Executive Chef Dave Hulin. Welcome, Dave.
Welcome to the podcast, Dave.
How are you tonight?
Yeah, well, we're doing fantastic. We have a little different setting tonight. We're here at the shop of Louisiana House of Spice, packing a couple of orders, so getting it done in the late hours of the night.
Hey, got to get it done.
Work don't stop.
No, absolutely not. So, how are you guys doing tonight? Barbecue, the Brandons, how are y'all doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Doing great. I can't complain about anything. I could, but nobody's really listening. So
yeah,
nobody cares.
Yeah, I'm doing good. Everything's rolling. Man, it's springtime. It's not officially springtime, but I call it springtime. You know, we just got all these things going on.
It's Louisiana and Texas, man. It's going to be spring before you know it. You know, it's like once February, there's two possibilities. It could be 0 or it could be like, I don't know, 90. You know? Who knows?
You never know.
We are going to jump right into this and kind of talk about you, Chef Dave, and your experience. So tell us, we know you have your line of seasoning, but where did your love of cooking start?
Oh, God. It started just like everybody else here in South Louisiana. It started as a kid. I was born and raised in Morgan City. My family is originally from, my dad's side is from we say New Iberia, but the actual roots of the family, the Hulins, are from Cypress Island, which is just a little in between Parks and St. Martinville. So they're from there, and they eventually migrated over into the New Iberia area. And my mother was from her side of the family is from Jeanerette, from a little town called Crapo Town, just north of the Bayou Teche there in Jeanerette. But my mom and dad found their love for each other down in Morgan City, Louisiana, where I was born and raised. And in 2007, whenever I decided to get out of the military and come back home, I was actually here in 2005, working for the St. Mary Parish Sheriff's Office right out of the military. And in 2007, I ventured over to Iberia Parish and found my roots here and did a couple of years and quite a few years in law enforcement until I got right back into the cooking. But, the story goes, I had an uncle that anybody that's from New Iberia, been around New Iberia back all the way back to the 80s, there was a restaurant on Center Street called the Friezo. And the Friezo had some of the best chili and hot dogs that the world knew. But he was the owner of that. And so I have all those recipes. My mom owned a bistro and cafe down in Morgan City. I had an aunt that owned a cafe also in Morgan City. Just growing up in the family of restaurants, I had an aunt and uncle that had a restaurant in Nunez, Louisiana, which is over by Abbeville. So yes, ever from a young age, from 5-6 years old, I was in a restaurant. I was either a waiter or a cook or the icy guy. That's kind of what they call it. They call it a food in a movie theater. But I was kind of the icy and ice cream guy over at the little cafes. If not bussing tables or washing dishes, I worked it all. Trash man, I did every step. But I grew up 5 days a week, like I like to say, in the city, and 2 days we would leave on the Friday afternoon when Dad got off of work, and we would drive all the way to Abbeville and spend time with the grandparents. We would head back Sunday night and go back to the city in Morgan City. So, and we'll get into that, I guess, a little bit. The difference between Cajun cooking and city cooking is quite different.
Oh boy, let's stir it up, huh?
Well, there is. I mean, when we talk about like the difference between cooking and city cooking and country cooking, I mean, you're just talking excess. I mean, in a city, you're just going to have a wider variety to access. You're gonna taste a lot of different food, not just Cajun food, but other cultures' foods too. And it just breeds more fusion. I mean, that's just part of it.
That's true. Yeah, man. Look, you want to talk about stirring the pot and controversy? I've been prepping mentally. I've been gaming for this particular podcast because.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because everybody always says that I'm the one that stirs the pot and I carry the biggest spoon. So, I'm one of those guys. I kind of like controversy, but controversy in a good way, I guess.
Yeah.
Again, I have zero filters. I really don't care how not to say that I don't care what people think, but I'm a little stubborn, I guess, in my ways of thinking and pathways of going. But I have different views about a lot of different things. So I like to put people in their place when it comes to controversy.
Welcome.
No.
Come as you are.
Exactly. That's what this is all about. We
like Cajun church down here. Just come as you are. Just.
Yeah, we talk about all kinds of different things, and everybody's experience is different. Everybody, like our food traditions are really built on our parents and grandparents' preferences. Like
absolutely,
your mom may have cooked something that my mom didn't cook because my mom didn't like cooking that. My mom never cooked liver and onions. Just saying, like never was that cooked in my house. My grandmother cooked it though, but no, didn't like. My mom didn't like it. It wasn't being cooked in this house.
This is true. Very true. I think that can be said pretty much for every family.
Yeah, it's just built on preferences. What do people prefer to cook?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hold on. Okay. Oh no! We're gonna circle back to this really quick. But I'm
coming back to this one.
I'm gonna take a little quick exit, real quick. So you said that you worked for law enforcement in St. Mary Parish?
Correct.
Okay, I'm from Franklin originally, and my brother was a detective in St. Mary Parish when he was alive. God rest his soul.
Who was that?
Alton Hunt.
Oh yes, I was on shift with that. I worked with I worked on shift with him a few times.
Okay, all right.
Look at this. Crazy. Small world. Yeah. That's crazy. We find out some crazy stuff with this podcast.
Yeah, always.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Like just to show the small world, the things that happened with this podcast. I went to junior high with how the Cajun lady accent.
No.
I didn't even know that. Like, she's like, you look familiar. I'm like, this is crazy.
It is look, Louisiana's a pretty small place, A lot of people know each other.
Small place, big personality. So you
very
when you meet people, a lot of times you remember them,
Well, see,
absolutely.
Here's the difference, and I don't care. Look, I served 12 years in the Coast Guard officially, and I went all over the world with the Coast Guard. But no matter where I went, whenever I found somebody from Louisiana, we always had a connection. We always had a backstory. We always knew that similar people. And the fact of the matter is that here in Louisiana, we're all family, no matter what. So we're all kin to somebody down the line.
This is true.
So no matter where we go, I think that's too. Like when we travel and we find people, the first thing that we think of is, hey, are we related? Are we kin?
Yeah, who's your daddy?
Right. We always find out who the family is first before we start getting into topics.
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly. So, Brandon D and I have a funny little joke. Well, maybe it's just me because he doesn't think it's very funny. But
we're not cousins.
Brandon's grandfather would always tell me, "What's your last name?" Like Potan. He was like, "Oh, we have some Potans in our family." So I always tell Brandon, we're cousins, and he don't like that very much.
Don't find it funny.
Shit ain't funny.
Well, you mean you want me to be like perfectly honest? According to my college biology teacher, after second cousin, it doesn't even count. Genetic difference.
Yeah.
That's a rabbit hole.
Right.
That's a deep rabbit hole.
That's enough genetic drift, So
look, let me clear it all for you guys. So look, I've been out of law enforcement now officially. My last day of law enforcement was back in 2017. And I can tell you that according to the state of Louisiana, Louisiana revised statute laws, that anything after second cousin, it's all legal.
This is true.
The fact that we had to make laws to state that is, a bit shocking in itself.
Yeah.
Well,
and in other states, cousin marriage is completely legal. I mean, this is a weird hole we were going down here, but it's true.
It is because back in the roots of Louisiana, I mean, the culture here. I mean, they had to do certain things way back in the 1800s to populate the area. So I mean, again, it can be it's history, and I mean that's a very deep rabbit hole. Let's not go down that one.
Yeah, about that Trinity.
Yeah.
About them onions, man.
Oh, nice segue.
That's why in Louisiana we call everybody cuz, because it's probably true. What's up, cuz?
Yeah. Covers your bases.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look, I'm pretty sure my grandparents on my mom's side were like fourth cousins, but I mean Grand Prairie and Opelousas, that was small towns back then, so.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well.
What about that Trinity, B?
Yeah, well, I'm trying to find out.
We're already fixing to go to church, baby.
That's right. Look, tonight, I don't know if you've seen a little video that I sent to Casey, so she posted on Facebook, but I made a little gravy tonight, and I was like, man, I got some of that 180, that Trinity, and I threw some of that in there. But that's one of the questions that I had. I'm just gonna jump into it. So I got it right here, right, for y'all, for the camera.
Yeah.
So we all love to find out. We all use, because we understand flavors, we understand how to cook and what we can do with different things and how we can stretch things to other things, like yada yada yada. But I always like to find out from the creator, what was your intended purpose for this? Like, as far as what part of the cooking process does this go in? What was your original process, or what was your original thinking for making this product, and how do you envision it being used?
Yeah, man, good question. So, I mean, obviously we got to start back from the beginning. So let's talk about the brand before we actually get into each flavor profile, because I can see we're headed down that rabbit hole too. So we're going to talk about them. I guess you all got your boxes and gift bags and things like that.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
But so look, man, I grew up in a family with a lot of health issues, as we all do here in Louisiana. So going back to the original story, again, I grew up in the restaurant industry. So I knew as a kid that everybody always says, when you get bigger, when you get older, what is it that you want to do? And I always thought that I was going to be a chef. I always thought that I was going to have a restaurant and do that either in Morgan City or around in where my family was from. And, growing up in Morgan City back in the 80s, Morgan City was a big oil field town. Mm-hmm. And in around about the 80s, that's also whenever the oil field took a crash and things started leaving Morgan City. My dad was an inspector in the pipe yard. He ran he did a lot of stuff out in the oil field with a lot of piping and whatnot. And we saw the diminishing of Morgan City. And so my sister up and rooted with her husband and kids. They went out to San Antonio, Texas. And so just as a kid, we were going back out and forth to Louisiana and Texas. And again, like I said, I spent a lot of time in the country out here in Abbeville and Erath. And so with that, I tried to understand going through high school, trying to go into college. I'm thinking, what do I do? What do I want to do? What do I want to go to college for? So I knew culinary was one of them. I just never could really find a school for culinary that I was really interested in going to. But I think, my dad and my uncle, back when they were living, had an impact on that. And one of the things was, the biggest question was, why can't restaurants stay open? And, Barbecue Brand, I know you're right here in Youngsville, but if you pay attention here in New Iberia, man, it's like a restaurant pops up, and the next thing you know, like 6-8 months later, they're closed. And we always wonder, like, what's the deal? Is it just that the city doesn't have enough money? And that's not the case. Is it the people that don't have the money? And that's not the case either. It's why is it that people don't want to support the business and stay here? They tend to go to the bigger cities, and look for things. So, that question was back with me when I was a young man. And, so I tried to figure it out. And one of the things that I thought about was if I could, because I knew how to cook, and I learned that from different people in my family. Um, and so the aspect that I was missing was the planning of the restaurant. So like the formatting of it, the layout of it, the kind of the front of the house. What is it that keeps people interested into the restaurant? And so lo and behold, I went to college for visual arts and graphic communications, for design and learning how to build menus and learning how to do things. And again, we can always edit this. We may decide to keep it in, but and of course, all this plays into my later life, which God has tremendous amounts of abilities, of course, to issue us blessings and lay our footprints, where they are, and it's up to us to walk into them. And I followed that path, and man, it's interesting how it came back full circle. But I went to school for visual arts and graphic communications, and one of the classes that I was taught in was color theory, and how color plays a massive impact on a person's psyche. And so you ever wonder like why hospitals are painted certain colors and jailhouses and in rooms? It's all because colors play an impact on our mood, and causes us to make decisions, whether they're rash decisions or whether they slow us down. Color plays a big part of that. And so I took that information, which later on in life, again, I was a detective and narcotics agent, so that I was able to play with that. That college degree really came in hand in all the steps of my life is what I was really trying to get at. But, so I was going back and trying to learn how to visually stimulate a person so that they would be interested not only in the food, but the atmosphere of a restaurant. And so I tried to create this from multiple aspects of looking in and looking out, from a customer coming into the restaurant, as well as an owner looking back out to the customer. And so what I realized at that point was I didn't want to be a chef anymore because I didn't want to spend the time in the kitchen, long hours and all those things. So I figured out that I really wanted to be a creator. And so again, going back, I growing up in the family of health issues. My dad had diabetes, hypertension, really a lot of matter of fact, he passed away of a heart attack. So he had hypertension pretty high.
Sorry to hear that.
I had a sister that passed away of cancer, but battled that for 15 years. Mom had diverticulitis. She's currently still with me. But again, just all these different issues. I had cousins with Crohn's disease. And the list of diseases and ailments just plague the kind of the family. But it does that with all of us here in South Louisiana. The more you dig in, the more you find, So it was very challenging to cook for these people. And to cook one meal, because it was like every time we would get together, somebody would say, well, you cooked that, but I can't have this. So can you do this instead? Right. And again, and we're all going to come back full circle. Just stick with me for a second. I'm building it up again. And so again, so after college, I ended up in the military. In the Coast Guard, first job that I had was I was a rescue swimmer. And so that led to study of dietetics and massage therapy and all these other cool aspects of the military behind the scenes. And so studying the dietetics, I was able to build on the knowledge of being in the culinary field. And then that led to one day finding out that I could go through, the Coast Guard has their own cooking program. They have their own culinary school. And it's, so they, I was talking to a master chief at one time and he was like, man, you come from a family of restaurants, things like that. He goes, have you ever thought about being a chef? And I was like, absolutely. He goes, why don't you be a chef for the Coast Guard? And I was like, man, I can do that. And he goes, yeah, man, full ride, all paid, good to go. All you got to do is sign up. And I did it. So, I went to my first culinary school I ever went to was in the military. It was paid for by the military, done in the military. And then upon graduation of that one, I was doing some side work outside of the Coast Guard as a executive chef, a personal chef, private chef on yachts. I was actually stationed in Galveston, spent a lot of time in Galveston, the Houston area. So over there in Webster, right around the NASA there, Clear Lake, I was spent some time on some sailboats and some yachts out there as a private personal chef. Yeah. And so the Kima Boardwalk, spent a lot of time out there working on vessels and sailboats. And that led to what I found was my clientele wanted some really fancy and gourmet stuff. And while I never had that piece of the puzzle. So I actually signed up for a second culinary school that taught me it was gourmet cooking and the catering side of the business. So I actually have 2 culinary degrees. One is catering and gourmet cooking, and the other one is a classically trained chef done through the Coast Guard. And so, again, building all this now together, I had all these seasonings that I had put together for my family. And so, when, again, coming out of the military, getting in law enforcement, came a time in life where I got too old for law enforcement, and decided to exit that scene, and didn't know what to do with my life, So had a good friend of mine who today is now my business partner, and he said, "Man, you got all these cool seasonings, man. What are you going to do with them?" I said, "I have no clue, man. I mean, they're there, but I started to get back into being a private chef and doing those things." And he said, "Why don't you start a seasoning company, a seasoning business?" I went, "You done lost your mind. There's no way in hell I would do that." So we sat around and a couple bottles of Crown, a couple bottles a night, and a couple nights later, we came up with this idea that why don't we cater to the people with health issues? So we sat around and created the name Cajun 180. So the story behind that is we were 180 degrees in the opposite direction. And that's where the 180 comes from. So we're not 180 degrees hot. We're 180 degrees in the opposite direction. We use less than 2% all natural sea salt on the back end of our recipes. And all of our recipes are formulated and designed for people with health issues. So a lot of our products, like our black peppers, are meshed down super, super small so that it doesn't affect a person with diverticulitis. GI systems and tracks, our cayennes are all low-grade cayenne peppers. Our sea salts are actual authentic sea salts. So we don't use any type of table iodine filler salts. We use nothing with GMOs. Anything that a person has a sensitivity or an intolerance to is not found in any of our formulas in the Cajun 180 brand or lineup. So going back to the Trinity, so as a chef, everybody here in South, I guess we can separate the chef from the home cook. Everybody here in Louisiana cooks with the Trinity. I've listened to one of you guys' podcasts. I'll talk deep into the Trinity.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
I was all over that podcast. I was like, man, I can get into this one.
Yeah. So it's a fascinating subject.
Oh, it is. It is. So, and what I found is this: the more you cook with the Trinity, the actual cut up onions, bell peppers, and celery, as you cook that product, you cook it down, it loses nutrition value and it changes its flavor. And depending on whether you cook the onions will transition from, that onion taste to that savory sweet. Right. As it caramelizes, your celery has a very potent, front end and can last that way. You can definitely overdo the celery. And the bell pepper just kind of lingers somewhere in and out of there. You can use too much. Some people say you can use too much. Some people say you can't use enough of it.
You can definitely use too much bell pepper.
Yeah, and
bitter.
Yeah, and by and large, I mean, it cooks down, it cooks out, and so over time you're going to lose that flavor. And so the intent of that Trinity product was an enhancement. So it was designed to bring back the Trinity flavor. And use it in different ways other than just cooking with it. So at Cajun 180 in 2018, 19, and 20, we were sponsors of pageants, beauty pageants. And so what we were doing is we were actually going around. My daughter's now today 4 years old. She was born in 2020 during COVID. And whenever COVID lifted and we were able to get out, she was entered into a lot of pageants as a baby. And so we spent a lot of time in the pageant world. And I spent my time as a pageant dad talking to the women behind the scenes, trying to figure out, like, what's your diet? Like, what do you do? I mean, you're here all day long. You're changing dresses. You're putting on makeup. You're doing all this stuff. Like, what are you eating back there? And they go, right. Man, just some salads and fruit. And I was like, what? You putting some meat in there, some protein? And they're like, no. I mean, they were limited. And so what we did, we were able to take our Cajun 180 seasonings and bring it in there and show them how to enhance just the basic things that they had, and brought so much flavor to it. It was flavor church at a pageant.
Dang.
Yeah, it was amazing. And so
That's really
you know,
cool.
yeah, and then we have also we sponsor 8 barbecue teams around the world with Cajun 180. And a lot of times those guys they'll enter the SCA, the State Cook-Off Association. They'll enter those state cook-offs with the ribeyes. And what we found was they'll take that Trinity and they'll put that on a ribeye, and that's the seasoning. And they'll lightly dust it with something else, whether it before we had our SPOG, SPOG, salt, pepper, onion, garlic blend. That's soon to be released. We've been playing with that for years. But either that, I mean, you always hear in the barbecue world a product called White Lightning, that's out there.
I have some.
Yeah, so they would sprinkle that, but they would dust it on after they would put that Trinity base on a ribeye. And they've taken minute. We've had some guys we've been to Fort Worth to the Nationals to support our guys that were out there cooking, and they used that Trinity product on there, and it what it did was it brought a flavor that was nostalgic to the judges, but they couldn't figure out what it was. And so it was a game changer. It was a game changer. So we use it in a variety of different ways, whether you sprinkle it straight on a fresh green salad, or whether you use it to put into gumbos and or etouffees or jambalayas. But the difference between that product and Rusty, of course, Rusty with every stuff, good friend of mine, Rusty Noel, he has his Trinity product, which is dried up Trinity, and you have to rehydrate that stuff. This is the product that we have is actually Trinity in powder form. It's a flavor profile. It's not in comparison. Those two products do not compete with each other. They actually enhance each other.
Right.
Yeah, I think your Trinity blend is pretty fantastic. I like all of it's almost like the raw Trinity flavor.
Right. It brings back kind of like the fresh onion taste, like the sharp onion taste, the sharp pepper taste, the sharp celery taste. Because when you cook the Trinity, it really transforms it. You really break it down, and it becomes something else. It becomes much more on the savory end, and it's all savory flavors. It loses the fresh quality, but that's kind of the purpose of it, is to be deep and savory and to enhance it. Really, I mean, the function of Trinity is to enhance meat. That is the fundamental function. These are all Trinities are this base is to enhance meat flavored dishes. I mean, vegetarian cooking was back in the day, unless you're from India, is not really a thing. In European, African, Native American cultures, there's no vegetarian really cooking. I mean, all this stuff is meat based. So these are what these flavors are designed for. They're designed to enhance the flavor of meat, and that savory, like onion gives that sweet, celery has its own punch, and then the bell pepper is really a bittering agent, and bitter flavors, when you play with them, bitter flavors are important because they actually enhance savory flavors. That's why a brew is fundamentally a bitter flavor, but it makes things very, very savory. And playing with that, you just have to be careful with it, because you can over bitter things, like especially like with gumbo. I said you really have to be careful with gumbo, playing with the type of smoke profile that you're using in your gumbo. You can't if you go real with a really dark roux in a really heavy smoke profile, you can make it kind of overbearing. Not bad, but something that you might not want to eat a whole bowl of. But that depends on your palate too. I'm kind of sensitive to bitter flavors, so I don't really like. I have done it myself. I've used a really smoky sausage, or too much of a smoky sausage with a gumbo, and everybody thought it was great. And I was like, man, this is a little too smoky for me. But it happens, But you learn,
Yeah, and I'll give away one of my secrets, I guess. Here's a golden nugget for some of you guys out there in the competition world. So basically what I do is, whenever I get in the competition world, I change my Trinity up. And so instead of using the onion, bell pepper, and celery, what I do is onion, celery, poblanos.
I don't really use green pepper. I've been using poblanos for like 17 years.
Yeah, and
I just don't.
I hand roast them over a fire, and so I give it that fire roasted flavor.
Oh, you extra fancy. Oh,
the poblano, I hate to tell people in Louisiana this, the poblano is superior to the green bell pepper in every single way. It is 100% superior. There's a case to be made for red bell peppers, yellow peppers, and orange peppers. Those are great, but the green bell pepper is the most boring pepper out there. Sorry. I know I'm kind of crapping on my roots, but I don't really use green bell pepper because I find the poblano just more flavorful, less bitter, just a little more interesting flavored. I mean, I've been using that for a long time.
There's only one place for green bell pepper in my life right now, and that's on my Subway sandwich.
Oh Lord.
Yeah. You'll never see
cheesesteak or something, you know.
Oh,
yeah. Traditionally a Philly cheesesteak does not have peppers on it.
It does not.
Shut your face.
It does not. It's
That's
onions.
true.
Really?
That's true. Yeah.
Just onions?
It's onions, steak, cheese whiz, and the peppers you put on it are hot peppers, like Italian oil peppers. If you put peppers on it.
Okay.
Yeah,
in case y'all didn't know, you know now.
Look, and that's another thing about cheesesteaks. People think, oh, cheesesteaks is provolone. Like, there's an argument there. There's provolone, and then there's the cheese whiz.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I can't.
Yeah,
Tomas. But the two places competing is provolone versus cheese whiz. Which one is right? But yeah, the traditional cheesesteak is just onions. There's no peppers on it.
Correct.
Oh yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
makes me miss Philly.
I think peppers are,
What's that?
Makes me miss Philly. It's the first time I had one was in Philly.
Oh, where'd you go? Geno's or Geno's East or what's the other place?
I don't even know if I could tell you where I went because this was 2003. I was in college. I was a bowler collegiately. Yeah, so we were on a tournament and we went eat. I don't remember where we were. I know wherever we were, I felt in danger. But but
that's how you know it's a good spot.
Exactly. That's what so the food was hitting, right?
Yeah, it was
hitting.
I mean,
gosh.
I've been to Philly and I had a cheesesteak, and I can tell you, man, it's rich. It's real rich. I mean, it's man, but the bread they use up there. I mean, bread on the East Coast is just better. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know why. It's something to do with the water. The water is less alkaline or something like that. So they make better. You can just make better bread on the East Coast than you can west of the Mississippi. So
jumping back into the seasoning. So how many seasoning blends do you currently have in production?
Under the Cajun 180 line, we have currently today 9.
Wow.
9, and we're fixing to release a 10th, and there's probably, I think there's 8 left to come in the lineup.
Oh wow!
Dang,
that's a lot. Cool. That's really cool.
That's some serious production.
Yeah.
So
it's such a saturated market too. Cajuns, you really have to stand out because I mean, man, nowadays, I mean, it's really exploded. I mean, before there was Tony Chachere's and Zatarain's. And then Slap Your Mama came in, and then more people came in. Raging Cajun came in. All these other people came in. All the local stores started releasing their own seasoning lines, a lot of which I really like. So it's a very flooded market.
Yeah.
And I mean, I say Tony Chachere's is original. I give it credit for that, but Tony Chachere's has even outclassed their original product with their products. Some of their products are actually better than their original, but they can't change their original. It's like Tabasco sauce,
Right.
A lot of people don't like Tabasco sauce, and they said, I don't want to try any Tabasco. I can tell you, Tabasco's products, the only Tabasco product I don't like is their sauce because it's too vinegary. But every other one of their products is actually excellent. I have not tasted any product by them other than their original sauce that I didn't like.
Yeah.
I mean, I love their sriracha sauce. I love their pepper jelly. They make a great chili starter. They make, other their chipotle sauce is great. It's just their original hot sauce. Look, they haven't changed it since the 1800s, which, hey, look, people's taste buds were different back then. So,
So
you might have loved. You might have needed a little
hot sauce fan, so.
Oh yeah, I'm a Louisiana Gold. That's my favorite. Louisiana hot sauce is great too. So
yeah,
but Louisiana Gold is a great sauce because it actually has the Tabasco pepper flavor, which is actually really unique. The Tabasco pepper itself is a great tasting pepper. It's got a nice fruity quality to it, and it's kind of like I guess the closest thing you could say it's a less hot version of a habanero. Habaneros have really fantastic flavor, but they're just blazing hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Tabasco pepper has that same quality, but it's just not as pepper. And it's like another one close to it is a Calabrian chili from Italy. Are actually really great flavors too, but they're a little bit hotter than the Tabasco, but they're still really good. But much less hot than the habanero. I mean, I love a pineapple and habanero salsa, but man, it's just sometimes it's just smokes you out, man.
Yeah.
And look, I can tell you, I don't know, I can't pull up a date. I can't tell you when this happened or when it occurred. But I can tell you now that we're in the business, now that we own Louisiana House of Spice and we pack seasonings not only for ourselves but other clients now and other brands. Here's the problem with the oversaturated market. And of course, I can't give away any specific details or anything like that, but I can tell you on a daily basis, my phone rings probably 5 or 6 times with just the average ordinary person who calls and says, "Hey, you guys are a packing facility, our co-packer and things like that, spice manufacturer. Can you pack my seasoning?" And I go, "Absolutely, we can. Where do we get started?" And they go, "Well, we need to set an appointment. I need to come and taste what you have so that I can put my seasoning in a can and put my label on it." I said, "Okay, well, you got your labels designed?" "Oh no, we gotta figure out what the seasoning is first." I said, "What do you mean you gotta figure? What, you should already have it." They go, "No. Man, we heard something that's called white labeling or private labeling, and so we want to know if you have something that we can put our label on." That's the problem. So the problem is there's so many products out there on the store shelf that if you were to take the label off and put them side by side, I guarantee you in a local, I'm not going to name no names. We're not going to go down that controversy rabbit hole, throw myself under the bus. But you can go to some stores around here, man, and you can take the labels off the can, dump the product out, and it is the same product from can to can. It's just a label that's different.
Wow. I have been hearing about this a lot more lately, this private labeling, and I wondered about that. Obviously, there's a lot of products, and we speak with a lot of people, and we don't get the inside information about, a lot of things, but just with us being intelligent people, going in a store and seeing some products, that some of these things are probably the same exact thing. Just like you said, you take some of the labels off, this is going to be the same exact thing as this, right? That is insane about how much that goes really on. Is.
I think that's kind of like why we I think I like the unique products. Like when I taste Rusty seasoning, I tasted a seasoning. I remember I first got it at a barbecue competition. They were, I was like, this is different. This is not the same. Yeah. And then I've tasted Shane Gaspard's, his Gaspard's Cajun Heat. Tasted that. I said, this is not the same. This is different. Hal seasoning, same thing. This is not the same. This is different.
Your seasoning, not the same. Very, very different.
Very, very different. No.
Right.
Cajun Trinity. I don't know if there's anything quite like that. I don't think. There's a pretty unique product.
Here's the problem is that what you do, Chef Dave, is I think a lot of people have tried to do, and their product is not good. I'm gonna keep it all the way tall. There are people that tries to do some of the stuff that you do as far as making low sodium seasonings or healthier seasonings, and they are not good. Your stuff is good.
It's really good.
I appreciate that. Let me tell you. So this is how. So let's go back to the Cajun 180 brand. Okay. So what you have is every single product that we have is a flavor profile, and that's where it starts, right? So again, when people start looking at and building seasonings, the first thing they want to come in with is, man, I want something with onion and garlic and they tell you what they want in the product. They can't tell you how much of what they want in the product. They just tell you what they want in the product. that's one way that they start. The way that mine started was I think of a dish or a style or a genre of since we're got the masses of people listening here. Some people don't know how to title this or look into it, but I call it a genre of food, whether it's Creole food, Cajun food, Mexican, Cuban, and Latin. I mean, there's all German, there's all different parts of the world that have different kinds of cooking and different styles of food. And so people nostalgically refer back to flavor profiles and or things that they like, right? And so when you can, so like for instance, the mojo, right? I think I sent you guys the mojo.
Yep.
That mojo, I spent time in the Coast Guard. I was around Puerto Rico and Cuba, and that mojo is actually a liquid marinade. It is designed to marinate chicken and pork with. It is a liquid marinade, and so I took that flavor profile and converted it to a powder form. And so it was, and then there's the formulation on the label there that tells you how to convert it back to a liquid marinade. And so that flavor profile was built to represent something else that exists in this world. And so that's so all of the products, whether it's the Cajun Trinity, the Dream product is a little bit different. The purple can, that one's a little bit different. That was a blessing in disguise. That is the child. That is the offspring of two different products. Two of our flagship products. One is the Cajun Trinity, and the other one is our Cajun Gold, which is our original all-purpose seasoning. And so people, whenever they would go to our markets or they would find us at a festival, they would buy both of them, and they would complain about both of them. They would complain that the Cajun Gold was too hot. And we would say, yes, of course it's hot. A little bit goes a long way. That's because it doesn't have all the salt to filter out the heat. So what you're catching up front is all the peppers. And then when they would taste the Trinity, they would say, man, this is loaded with flavor, but it has no heat or it has no salt. And so they were buying a 2-pack. They were buying them together. Now, while that's a good thing for me to make money off of two products, I thought, man, how can I make this more economic for a person and put both flavors into one? So basically it's a combination blend of both of those put together.
That's pretty smart. Yeah, that's the mojo seasoning I found real interesting because that's a tricky one to replicate because the thing about Puerto Rican food, Cuban food, Caribbean food is the bitter orange.
Yes.
Like bitter orange is not, you can't find bitter orange in the United States. It does not exist. So that's a very distinct flavor, and you to kind of mimic that flavor because it has that flavor. You can get it there at restaurant. The only place you'll get like a true bitter orange flavor is you go to an authentic restaurant where they can source a bitter orange. Usually they get it from some place like New York City. New York City, you can actually find bitter orange because of the large Puerto Rican and Caribbean populations there. But it's a very difficult ingredient to find. You generally can't. I've never seen bitter orange, and I've seen all kinds of flavors. I live in Houston. I've seen everything you could possibly imagine flavor-wise, Asian, Middle Eastern, Korean, Japanese, every continent you could put, African, all this stuff. But bitter orange is one thing I have never seen a bitter orange in Houston. And it is a very distinct flavor. And you can kind of mimic it with orange, but it's not quite there.
Right.
So it's pretty, and I feel like that you've mocked that flavor pretty well. You've gotten that flavor pretty well because I know you're probably not using bitter orange because it is not easy to find and it's not cheap either.
Yeah.
Well, we can't release that. That's proprietary information. I can't say.
Yeah, but it is a very good. It is a very you taste it as I tasted it and I was like, oh, this is for pork. Like pork. Like you talk about like mojo, mojo pork. It's just like. It's such a great flavor, it's got so much flavor to it. Yeah, but bitter orange is a tricky thing to find because you can't really find it not anywhere in the South. I've never seen it. Maybe in you can find it probably like Miami or places with large Puerto Rican populations, but down here, nah.
Yeah. And so look, let me tell you. So in 2018, we actually took with the company here with Cajun 180. We actually took a trip with the Certified Louisiana program. At SUSTA, which is the Southern United States Trade Association, to learn how to import and export products from the state of Louisiana to to different parts of the world. And one of our trips that we took was to Costa Rica and Panama. And so we took some of our products down there, and so again, that mojo was designed for chicken and pork. And when we were in Costa Rica, we found this young lady who sat down with us, and she was tasting all of our products, and she immediately just stopped us. So she goes, "Hang tight, I'll be right back." And so she left, and she came back with a fruit platter. And she was like, she started putting it on the fruit. And I was like, "Oh my God, what are you doing? Like, you're ruining the fruit." And she goes, "No, taste this." And so in Puerto Rico, I'm sorry, in Cuba, that Costa Rica, they season their fruit. And I found that, of course, just like here in the States, they season it with Tajin seasoning. But man, when I tasted it, because I know what Tajin tastes like on things like pineapple and watermelon and strawberries and those type of things. And while it's delicious and it's good, when I tried the mojo on it, it instantly sent me to the tropics. I was in a whole different place. And so I was like, wow, this is cool, man. So like whenever we test that product out and let people taste it, we taste it with fruit. We don't even cook chicken or pork with it. That stuff is fantastic.
That's awesome.
I can attest. It's amazing on fruit. Like now I'm hooked because I got a big fruit tray from Costco, and I just it's just mine. Brandon's not eating out of it. So no. I just put the seasoning on the lid, on the inside of the lid, and I just.
Well, listen, I mean, so in the Cajun 180 lineup, we actually have a cocktail rimmer that was designed for Bloody Marys. I mean, again, like I said, going back to that competition circuit, you know, we would sponsor a barbecue team. They would go out to these steak cook-offs. Well, what do you have at a steak cook-off or a barbecue competition? You have ancillary groups. And they were always like, "Hey, man, just come out here and come join up with us." And stuff. "Oh, by the way, there's an ancillary group. You want to enter it?" And I'm like, "What is it?" "Bloody Marys." I'm like, "Oh, dude, I make some bomb-ass Bloody Marys." So I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it." And so we actually designed the Bloody Mary rimmer, or the rimmer, cocktail rimmer, to be for a Bloody Mary base that I have that eventually is going to be packaged later down the road, because I haven't gotten into my wet sauces and our Bloody Mary mixes yet. And so that is specifically designed for a Bloody Mary mix that I make for some private shows that I do. And what we found was when we were testing out the mojo on fruit, we actually had some mixologists in New Orleans and some of these other fancy cities around the state of Louisiana that started taking that mojo, and they started making cocktail drinks with it, and they were putting it around the rim. And my business partner took a trip down to the Caribbean and came back and was like, "Dude, you got to try this drink." So we actually made a key lime colada and rimmed the glass of that with that mojo. And I'm telling KCP, I'm telling you, girl, it was fan.
I need to taste it. All right. All this talk, I need one of these drinks like pronto.
Listen,
for real.
Sounds good.
Y'all fixing to light up the grill when y'all go to the Houston rodeo. Bring you some pineapple and have B put that on the grill and grill you some pineapple, girl, with that mojo on top of it. I'm telling you,
that's not a bad idea.
Time out. I don't have to wait that long. Barbecue brand, make it happen
this weekend.
There you go.
It's happening.
Make it happen. I bring the pineapple. You bring the grill. How about that?
Hey, I got a motto. I got a motto. When my pit is lit, so am I.
There you go.
I like that one.
I don't let Black Betty get lit by herself.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm telling you though, like, as soon as I tasted that, I said, "Oh man, I gotta make like some pork skewers with this or something, man. I just have to." But I was so busy. Like, I mean, I've got this competition this weekend. I got anything over rice next weekend. Then I get like 2 weeks off, and then we're going to Houston Rodeo, which is like that's like 4 days for me. That's 4 weekdays in a weekend. And man, I said that's gonna be and then I have one right after rodeo, and then another one 2 weeks after that. So I'm like, man, when I'm gonna get time to cook for myself and be cooking for all these people?
Right, we've been eating a lot of Costco chicken.
Yeah,
yeah, it goes good on chicken wings too. I mean, I'm just saying.
Hey. That's a good one too. Yeah,
hey,
that's something else in the competition world that them judges aren't used to, is that mojo on some chicken wings.
Oh, you ain't lying.
Man, I should just turn in chicken wings for for this weekend. I can do any part of the chicken, right, B? For CBA,
that's absolutely. You can definitely turn in chicken wings.
You can turn in any part of the chicken. So I'm just gonna do some drumettes and just turn it like a bunch of chicken wings.
You got to do the flats. You got to do the flats. Yeah,
you got to do flats.
That's what they like. Yeah.
No, they like flats. I'm a big fan of flats myself too, man. I mean, hey, look, I'm all for
it. So I have a question for you, Dave. What is your favorite seasoning out of your whole lineup? What is your favorite?
The hands down Dream. It's my go-to.
Really?
Absolutely.
It is really good.
Yeah, hands down.
The light is kind of, yeah. So what is your biggest selling item out of your lineup?
Our Trinity, hands down. It's our flagship product. Oh yeah, it's the number one selling product in Rouse's stores. We're in some HEB stores there in Texas, and
nice.
It also flies off the shelf over in the Texas market. I mean, it's phenomenal.
Yeah, it's really unique. I mean, I really like the flavor of it. I think Brand is right. Other people have tried to do something like that, and I don't think. I think this is not been. It's not the same. I won't say it's bad, but it's not as successful as yours is. So
right here, and let me tell you. So, and I'm guilty, right? So like you always, as a chef, as a competition cook, you go out there, and whether you visit a restaurant or whether you got friends that cook, like Barbecue Brand, he might go out there. I might go to visit you guys, or y'all might be next to me at a barbecue competition or at another competition, and I taste your food, and I'm like, dude, that's badass. I got to try and duplicate that, right? So I can tell you, I was the first one to ever put that Trinity in powder form for the purpose of which it is. And because before that, there was not that product, and that's why I designed it and did that. And since I did that, there's two people now that I know. One is a manufacturer, and the other one is an actual personality that tried to put Trinity in a bottle. And when I taste it, I'm like, oh my God, it tastes like cardboard. Like it has absolutely no flavor to it whatsoever. And it's because they don't know how to bring that umami factor to the flavor profile. And so, and look, I'm let them guess. They can guess all they want.
Right.
Nobody's yet been able to duplicate it. And if you want to reverse engineer it, have fun and pay the dollar bills to get that reverse engineered. But
yeah,
crazy.
That is crazy. Yeah, it's good stuff, man. You have really good products. And I really, really like the fact that, like your Trinity, of course, is in a clear bottle.
Yeah, but
that's important. I want to see it, like this Trinity. What does this look like? Is this big chunks of stuff in here? Like what we used to seeing, like Rusty's. It's just not the same. And to see it means a lot. And then with the mojo, like just not being familiar with this product and the flavor profiles, it's nice to see what it looks like,
Yep.
Whereas your other products, salt, pepper, garlic, we kind of know what that is already, like there's no really guessing. But I really love the clear bottles. Like I just want to see what I'm buying, what I'm going to be cooking with,
Yeah, see, that's a whole other controversial topic right there. Whether you put it in clears because you want people to see it, or whether you put it in paper tubes because you don't want people to see it. There's a reason why some products are in clear plastics and some reasons why they're in paper tubes. And I can tell you from the Cajun 180 line why we have products in clears and why we have products in paper tubes. And one of the ones is because in the clears, not only do we want you to see the product, but UV light and sunlight actually causes products to fade. Products will lose their color. And so it's dangerous putting products like our barbecue rub. If that sits on a store shelf too long or it does anything, it fades that paprika, the smoked paprika, and it changes its color. It almost turns white. And people mistaken that for salt, and we don't want that to happen. But we want you to see the product. But part of the reason why we put it in the clear too is because we say we don't use any anti-caking agents and things like that that people are insensitive to. And so whenever I flip a bottle over and I show you that it actually clumps and or it stays through, but if you shake it a couple of times or pound on it a little bit, it breaks up and it goes right back to its original form. Like I want you to see that we don't have all the other fillers and things like that in the product. So there's a reason I want you to look in through that glass window of the product because of why my product is built the way that it's built. Other people say I want to put it in a clear bottle because they want people to see that it's a premium product. But again, that's a dangerous move because of what UV light does to actual the oxidation of the product itself in the product.
Right.
So the paper tube actually protects it a little bit better.
Right. That's why you see you'll see some plastic bottle seasonings in a darker color, like an amber color, like beer. I mean, it's the same thing with beer. Like that's why you put beer in an amber bottle. The UV light will mess with what those products do.
Yeah, I got some old some old Zatarain's crab boil or crawfish boil in the pantry right now, and I have a new one. If you put them side by side, you would think there was two completely different things in there. Because
and that's in your cabinet.
That's in my cabinet.
That's
if you have something in a clear tube, it is going to look more premium, right? But yeah, just like you said, you better make sure
shelf.
You better make sure it moves. You better make sure it moves.
True. So, I mean, that's why like Zatarain's Pro Boil is in like the Zatarain's products are in a dark bottle, like in a clear bottle, most of it, but their Pro Boil is in a dark bottle because it's got less salt and more spice to it. So that would the sunlight. That's why it's in the dark container, so it doesn't degrade it.
That makes sense
a lot
now.
of herbs in it, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Speaking of Pro Boil, holy crap! Your Pro Boil is awesome.
That is. It's really good.
Yeah, it's good.
I'm a sucker. I'm on social media all the time, doing all kind of things. But I'm totally addicted to doing a crab bake in the oven, like the snow crabs, all that stuff, right? So I put some of your Pro Boil, sprinkle that all over it. I even did it with the imitation crab. Don't shoot me for it, right?
I like imitation crab. I don't care.
Yeah.
Judge me, like, look, everybody's got their trash food that they can like,
That's definitely. But anyway, I use that and it is phenomenal. I didn't have any lemons like you're supposed to, but all that citrus in your Pro Boil.
Mm-hmm.
It was so good. It was so good.
So that was actually designed to be a competition boil. And then because Brandon D and I can get along on this topic here. He's a food science nerd. When I get back here behind the counter on a daily basis, my brain never stops of trying to create new products. And so I try to figure out how to, again, going back to the psyche of a person, like how do you create a product that is nostalgic to people, that brings them back to a time and place that they remember, also something that they would like and something that can be in demand and fly off the shelf as well. And so I linked up with a company. They're up north. Not going to mention any names again for proprietary reasons, but they have a lot of food scientists that I talk to on a daily basis, and we work hand in hand. And they design different formulations for me that we plate onto dry powders that can bring in whether it's color. I can create a seasoning for you today that if you wanted it blue, purple, pink, I can create a seasoning that is any color under the rainbow. But also different flavors. We can bring in different flavor profiles, and we can actually plate it on top of whether it's salt or whether it's the onion or the garlic or something in there. We can actually bring. I can make salt taste like a rotisserie chicken if I really wanted to.
Dang.
Yeah, so
you like the seasoning Willy Wonka over here.
Yeah, right. So at Louisiana House of Spice, we do say that we cater to more handcrafted and small batch and handcrafted blended products, and that's what we started with because we were a specialty brand with Cajun 180. We wanted to go after the people that had all the specialty sauces and the specialty items that we can play around with the different formulations. And lo and behold, the door swung open wide with people being frustrated with other co-packer facilities here in Louisiana. And we haven't, look, I'm going to say it right here, right now. And I was going to jump to this at the end when all the questions started right down, the rainfall of questions started raining down, but I'm going to hit to it now. We've been open now here at Louisiana House of Spice. Probably it's going on 8 months. We have not put out one phone call. We have not put out one flyer. We have not advertised on social media. Matter of fact, if you go to www.louisianahouseofspice.com, go to our website and look at it. It's still not even built. Like, it's there, it exists, but it's not it's just not in its totality of full path there. So, did I lose you guys?
No.
No, you're still
Still
here.
there.
So, yeah, we have not advertised the business at all, and yet our phone rings. People found us. They find us daily, and they call here. We're packing now for multi states and products all over the place. We bought this building and where we are currently to pack Cajun 180 products because we were told no by certain co-packers and things like that, because our products were our brand was very specialized, and we had specialty items that they didn't want to bring in specifically just for us. And so it became a very difficult thing to pack Cajun 180 products. And so we were kind of they forced our hand to try to do it on our own. So instead of being canceled as a brand, we chose to rise up above the rest and look for it. We were like, we can't let this go, man. We got to do it.
Right.
So we searched for years trying to find a building, dealt with the state, dealt with the city, permitting wise, getting the building ready. And we did this for us. We did it to pack Cajun 180 products. And then as we would go out, we would, people would see our product. They're like, oh my God, man, your product looks phenomenal. It's a premium looking product. Like, where do you guys pack your product? Like, nobody else packs anything like that. And so we had to start the story off with, well, I'm a graphic designer, so I design all my labels. And all of our products are premium products, and here's what they're for. We cater to people with health issues and things like that. So we pack our own product, and they go, what? Can you pack my product? And that's how it started. And, that's how it started. We would go to cook-offs, and just kind of like we were at the spaghetti cook-off with you guys right next door, and just one conversation led to another. And again, I mean, we have not had to go out there. So I mean, we're catching some flack right now by some other competitors where they're saying that we're trying to steal their clients, and that is not the case at all. We have not called not a single one of them. They have all called us. We have not gone knock on a door yet. Like, we haven't had to do it. This is the blessings. Blessings have just come open. And so we've talked about it, and so we're the yes guys. We know what it feels like to be told no.
Right.
We know what it feels like to start small. We know what it feels like to not have capital. We know what it feels like to not, to be forced to buy the all of these minimum, or say minimums, but the word I'm looking for is the minimums. Basically, they'll call us up and they'll say, "What's your minimum?"
Right.
Because everybody has a minimum,
right?
And we go, "We don't have any minimums."
It's called short MOQ, minimum order quantity.
There you go. Yeah. So basically, what's your MOQ? And so we said, we don't have any. If you want one case, we'll build you one case. Excuse my French. I tell people all the time, if you want dog shit in the golden urn, I'll put it in there. Just make sure the dog shit's clean and the golden urn is clean as well. I mean, we'll put it in there as long as the state allows us to put it in there and the FDA clears it. So we're customized that way, but we also, again, like I said, we know what it feels like to be told no, and to be told that you have to meet these minimums, and we're like, man, we just can't do that. And so our doors started flinging open with all the people that were going to farmers markets, small guys that had a dream, that wanted to do something and just could not get they just couldn't get started. And so we were like, you know what, we're packing ours, we'll pack yours with us. And then all of a sudden, lo and behold, here comes the big ones. And they're like, we want in on this deal. So so now we're packing for several brands, and we're packing for several states.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
Good for y'all, man. Good for y'all.
Yeah, absolutely.
So sometimes the best things are just born out of necessity. It was like, why did you start mixing your own spices? That's what was necessary. It's nothing more than that. I mean, like, nobody else would do it, so I guess I have to figure it out myself.
It's the Cajun life, baby. They dumped us here in the swamplands of Cajun, hoping to kill us, and we may do with what we may do with what's due.
Yeah, I still would like to know the first person that ate a crawfish. I would like to know, like, what they thought. Like, it must have been bad, right?
Hungry, man.
There's nothing that, to me, unless a crawfish does not look like it's a delicious thing. Like, how the hell would you eat that?
Oh my God. That's another controversial rabbit hole I don't want to go down, but I have a company that we deal with that sent us one of their catalogs, and in the catalog there's a whole section on insects. Like, whether it's worms or crickets or
Oh
grasshoppers or
Jesus!
roaches and things like that. And it's yes, it's a new thing. I'm telling you, it's a new thing. And so while it's on pages right after the spices, there's fruits, and then there's the insect division, and it's like, man, what do you do with that? And I was like, no.
Did,
Oh no.
Funny enough.
Did everyone see Brandon D's face when he said worms? Because I did.
Don't do worms, man. I'm not a fan. I have a deep psychological fear of parasitic worms, and every worm is a parasite.
Right.
Just,
Oh man.
But you also have to think of other countries that look at us and go, man, you eat a crawfish? I mean, like, what is that?
I mean, I have had cricket tacos at a restaurant, a pretty fancy restaurant, Hugo's in Houston. I had cricket tacos, and I have to say, it wasn't bad.
No.
Would I eat it again? It was like, it wasn't that great. But
Nah.
I mean, it was like, if you're hungry, I'm sure it would be pretty good. I mean, I was like, it's by far not the worst thing I've ever tasted. It's just kind of I don't know if there was really anything really special about it.
Nah, son.
Wasn't bad. Casey ate it too.
I did. I agree. I ate it, but I wouldn't eat it again.
I mean, it wasn't anything remarkable about it, but it wasn't a bad flavor. It was just really earthy flavored. I mean, I guess you could say that.
Yeah, it got stuck in your teeth too.
Yeah, no.
So that wasn't fun.
It wasn't my favorite, but I say, hey, look, if you're hungry, you probably would eat this and be happy. Yeah. There are much worse things in the world to eat.
Yeah,
trust me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, there's things all over this world, man, that that people find very unique and they're gourmet. I mean, it's just I'm only not only a competition cook, but I've judged a lot of competitions, and I've trained people to be judges. And one of the things that I'll lay out when a person comes to me and they say, "Man, I want to get into judging. What is it like?" I'm like, "Well, you never know until you get into it and do it." But you have to remember this. Well, so now let's get into this. Now, whether you're talking about food, whether you're talking about history, whether you're talking about whatever it is down the road of whatever, you have to remember this. History tells us, and I said this on another podcast a while back, and that's my saying. I started with that way. History tells us that, and then ... right? And it can be whatever. And so the difference between KCP and Barbecue Brand and Brandon D and Chef Dave is this. We all have a history. We all have a place of origin where we came from, and we all have a bias. And we were all taught something when we were kids. Something's very nostalgic to each and every, all four of us. And so we can literally sit down as a judging panel and have four different perspectives of how a person can execute a taco, a spaghetti, a jambalaya, a gumbo, or whatever. Right. And that's what brings it. The average of the scores at the end of the day is what brings the competition to where it is. And so I always started out this way. History tells us. And so you break up history and it's his and story. So you have to ask, whose story? Because our history books are written by people. And so is what's really written in the books truth? Right? So people say, well, tell me some Cajun folklore. Tell me some Cajun history. Well, who started the story and who's telling it? Yeah. Because you know that game that we played when we were a kid.
Telephone.
I'm gonna whisper something in your ear, and then by the time it gets through 20 people, that story's gonna change.
Yeah.
And so generation, as we go through generations of life, the stories of the history of what was told generation to generation, whether it's recipes that were handed down, again, Brandon D would agree with me on this one, where our great grandmothers were cooking something in the kitchen, and all of a sudden, by the time it got to me, man, look, that product's it doesn't exist anymore. And so we have to execute it a different way. And so that tradition changed. And so when somebody argues with me today and they go, well, that's not traditional Cajun, you know what? Screw you. It's traditional Cajun in my house, because tradition for me is, I'm 48. So 48 years of living is tradition to me. It may not be 100 years of tradition, but it's 48 years of tradition. And so that's where so when you go to judging, you have to remember that, man. Your judging panel is biased, and it's biased off of what they feel is nostalgic to them and what their preferences of likings are. So you can't, at the end of the day, you can go out there and cook your best game. just be happy at the end of the day that you cooked your best game. You were the best you did your best dish, and then you left it into the hand of the judges, and then you can't complain after that.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And I mean, you can see that changing. You can see the changing, like in food, like it's people think it's really like far away. I mean, but it's really not, man. I mean, you talk about like the introduction of canned food is what 150 years, something like that.
Maybe.
That changed the entire world. Then you got to talk about frozen food. Flash frozen food was invented by Clarence Birdseye. I mean, so that changed the world. The refrigerator car to transport meat across the country changed people's access to meat. I mean, people were getting beef that couldn't get beef before, and people were getting other things that they couldn't get before.
Yeah.
So everything
seafood
changes.
in landlocked areas, you know?
Right.
Exactly. Getting shrimp, getting shrimp in places where shrimp, you don't have shrimp. You can't transport it because you didn't have refrigeration.
I mean, who eats oysters out of the month of that doesn't end with an R? I mean, come on, bro. We got refrigeration today.
That's right.
Right. I mean, you look at the thing like the disappearance of crawfish fat out of etouffee. I mean, you used to be able to buy crawfish fat. Now it's really hard to find. I mean, there's some places that I don't even think they can sell it. They can give it away, but you can't sell it. So, but it's not accessible. So crawfish etouffee that doesn't have crawfish fat had to change. I mean, so. It's when your access changes, your recipes change, everything changes. That's just the way things work. And things are, you're looking for the truth, man. I mean, the truth is depends perspective. Who's telling you the truth? Some things are true here and not there. Some things are partially true, conditionally true. I mean, what's the boiling point of water where we live? It's 212 degrees, right? What's the boiling point of water in Denver, Colorado? It's not 212 degrees.
No,
it's much less lower than that.
Much lower.
Altitude and gravity.
Yeah, it's like air pressure changes the boiling point of water. So when you're at 5,000 feet, you're boiling that egg. It's going to take you a little bit longer. So altitude adjustment for food. So things are not always true. Things are just very complicated. I was like, the things that are consistent. Truth, I always say, has like a higher meaning. Like you're looking for like things that are consistent. You're looking for facts, right?
Correct.
Things that are factual or true. That's things that are repeatable. Like when you're talking about history and perspective and people and stories, true is, man, you're relative, man. You gotta go through multiple sources to find out what's true. I mean, that's one person's perspective of what happened, and
and that's also what makes cooking competition so fun, because you go out there and you're not only cooking against the people that are in the tents next to you, but you're cooking. Look, we every year here in New Iberia we have the World Championship Gumbo Cook-Off.
Yeah,
down in Bologna Plaza. there's over 70-something, 80 teams competing, and here's the thing, man. I've competed in that one on a professional level, 5-6 years in a row. I've done everything from competing to judging to the whole 9 yards when it comes to the World Championship Gumbo Cook-Off. But here's the thing, man. What we plan for, we plan the gumbo that we're cooking, and then we also, the team that I was a part of, we always planned for something very unique that I don't think other teams took into consideration, and that is the elements in which you're cooking in. So as a culinary background, or coming from a culinary background, barbecue brand, when you light your pit in the morning, bro, I mean, look, if it's 30 degrees outside, you got to let that wood heat up a little bit. Your charcoal temperature plays a big part in food.
Right.
How much humidity is in the air.
All of that.
Different things like that. So you got to wake up in the morning. You got to turn on the news, look at your weather forecast. Look at the humidity, the dew point temperatures, the temperature outside. I mean, all that stuff cooks different. It's exactly our point that we're talking about. So not only are you competing against the dish you're cooking and the competitors that you're doing, but you're competing against the elements as well. And so to execute a dish or to execute the end product of something is a challenge. And that's what you're competing against. And that's what people need to remember. You're not competing against each other. You're competing against yourself and how well you can handle the elements and the dish that you're trying to create.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's how well you can execute. You have to have
every challenge.
Yeah, you have to have a plan, and it's can you execute your plan? And I think that's what a cooking competition you got to be proud of. If you have a plan and you execute your plan, whether it goes over well with the judges or not, it may not speak to the judges. They may not like it, but if you're happy with what you produce and like what you produce, I say you call it a win, because it's not easy to execute something where you're dealing with elements and other things that are not you can't account for. You can't account for rain or humidity or
No.
It's going to happen, and you just better be ready to deal with it.
Yeah, well, let me tell you. Yeah, let me tell you. So, like, another thing too is like, we don't know who the judges are, and you don't know what those judges. Again, we don't know what the biases are. You don't know that may be that judge's first time ever judging a competition, doesn't know what the hell they're looking for, or what they're doing. We don't know that as the competitor. But at the end of the day, I mean, I tell people all the time. I mean, if I walk the stage first, second, third place, I mean, that's cool because I beat everybody else. I mean, look, I'm happy taking third place because there's 20, 30, 50 other teams that didn't even get to walk.
Right.
Then you get to take that walk. So third place is huge,
Right.
in the barbecue competition where, I mean, sorry, you hit 10th place. I mean, that's huge, man. That's awesome.
That's not
work your way down.
It's not
an easy
thing.
task, but at the end of the day, at the end of the day, the trophy that you want is people's choice. As long as the people's choice is not bought. But when you can please the audience and when you can please the crowd and people speak on behalf of your food, that's a winner right there.
Absolutely. Well, I'm pretty sure this discussion could be a part 2, part 3, part 4, but we got to end it somewhere. We gotta leave them wanting more, right?
That's it, man. So it's been awesome, man, to have you on.
Yes.
And, you ever want to come on again, man? Hey, we're here.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure KCP's got a lineup of questions and things like that. I'm telling you, I thought we were going to have the rainfall of all the random questions that were coming. So I was preparing myself.
We really like to let these discussions kind of develop naturally and kind of pick people's interest in, and we tend to end up talking about things that we have in common. Because like whatever you think about a person, man, we have more in common than we have different. So, we all four of us love food and we talk about it and we talk about experiences and, we find out we have similar experiences and similar things. Our parents taught us how to cook, we learned how to cook from our parents and grandparents. We learned how to eat. We have enjoyed tasting other cultures' foods and seeing how they do things differently and how you can, I think like fusion food is some of the most fun things you can do. Take some techniques from other places, how they do it, and you just see the commonality in all this stuff and how, food really brings people together.
Yep.
There you go. Hey, look, you just answered one of the most controversial topics ever talked about. The difference between Cajun and Creole foods. Right?
Oh man, we could get into that.
No, we're not going to get into it. We're not going down the rabbit hole.
I'm telling you. Y'all going to have to wait on that one.
But you've already answered it. And the thing is, we can call that today, we can call that a fusion food because Cajun and Creole are so much alike today. There is no difference.
Yeah.
So it has become a fusion
very,
food.
very hard.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and a lot of people nowadays, I'll leave with it, turns out they may be from a Cajun or Creole culture and then may like the Cajun version of one thing over their original Creole version of another, or the Cajuns might like the Creole version of one thing over the Cajun version of something.
Yeah.
I can tell you for me, I prefer the Creole jambalaya with the seafood, shrimp, and the tomatoes. I do.
Yeah, until you go to a family reunion, you don't want to get in an argument, so then you like the other side.
Exactly.
Yep.
All right. I have a little quote to end our night, and it goes, I don't know who this is by, but it's something I found, and I thought it was pretty funny. So the quote goes, God gave Louisiana a choice between good food and good weather. We chose the food.
Sure did, because the weather is terrible.
Big facts.
So I want to thank you, Chef Dave, for joining us tonight. And thank you for everyone watching this podcast. Please remember to subscribe, to hit that notification bell for when we do drop new episodes, new videos, everything. Like it, share it, all that. And we will keep bringing you funny stuff and informative stuff and controversial stuff. So until then, keep stirring that pot. Peace.
Peace out.
Later, guys.
Hashtag 180, go.
Hey.
Good
night, guys.